All bar attorneys are going to burn in hell. I can absolutely guarantee you that. These people are complete traitors. They are worse than the so-called lawyers in the gospel who told, uh, they tried to argue with the Lord over what Jewish law was, these so-called experts in law. And what does the gospel say about lawyers? You burden men with burdens too grievous to be borne, and you do not lift your little finger to lighten them. That's what the lawyers do today. They have us under all kind of bondage and regulation, and they don't want to help anybody because the political agenda is mass incarceration, social engineering, and to just destroy humanity like it's an expendable commodity. And these lawyers are brainwashed and have no conscience, and they're happy getting rich off of the status quo and ripping people off. And that's what they do. I just had a lawyer, this Victor Glassberg. He wants to charge me $25,000 to look at a case that he might work on it. This guy's out of his mind. That's completely unethical. And this is what these lawyers do. These lawyers are scam artists. They're just looking for as much money as they could get off of people. They want people to trust them. They want people to think that there's some kind of checks and balances, that you could get some kind of relief if your lawyer does a bad job, if they rip you off, if they're not doing what they're supposed to. But they don't. They could do whatever they want. They set the rules for themselves of what is fair, and they've given themselves carte blanche to do whatever they want. You cannot sue a lawyer in a criminal case if they do a bad job. They even if they show up to the court drunk, they're going to cover it up. It's just politics. They're going to say, oh, well, you're nobody. And, this lawyer, he's important. He's helping us convict all these people and helping our business. And that's what they do. They're bribing judges. They've been caught doing this. They do completely unethical things, and they hold their files of the clients, don't want to give them back. They try and destroy evidence. They try and lie to clients and get them to plead guilty to things that aren't even crimes. And they're just pure evil, and they're hypocrites too. They don't even know they're evil. They think, just like a lot of these government officials think, Romans 13 makes them like they're some kind of superior, holier than thou people, like they're servants of God. They're not servants of God. They're doing the most evil things in the world. They're oppressing people and helping this commercial law to flourish, where people are losing their lives and everything based on this manipulation of the currency, this contract system that they're being negated into, and their rights are being eliminated in place of contracts that they're signing their life away. There's no guilty plea in the Constitution. That's not there's no plea bargaining. That's something that they just changed, completely altered the system of law and made up so that they could do away with our natural rights and make everything complicated, esoteric. And they admit, the U.S. Supreme Court admits in Missouri versus Fry, that the larger sentences apply on the books just to punish people who don't plead guilty, because that's not good for their business model for mass incarceration. You have all these corporations profiting off of it. They're bribing the government officials with lobbying and privately to put them in office and get them to write the laws that they want, to make everything a crime, to hyper-criminalize everything. It's part of an elitist agenda. That way, everybody is powerless. Everybody's snitching and pointing the finger at everybody else. They're all bickering and fighting with each other, and everybody hates each other, and everything is a new criminal class, and men have been criminalized to the utmost extreme. Every man is armed and dangerous, and children have been weaponized, that you can't look at a child because that's a crime, and anything you do or say, they have more power than anybody, yet they're painted as the most vulnerable victims in the world. And in truth, they could say the word and they could lock up anybody in this nation and destroy their lives. And you don't even have to do anything. They could be completely bogus. It could be patently bogus, and they're just, nobody cares, because our society has been brainwashed that it's okay to mass murder people, just like it's a video game, kill other people. Everything's a dog eat dog world. And so if somebody's accused of something, then that's an easy way to get rid of them. That's their problem. Nobody cares if you're innocent. Nobody cares. It's just better safe than sorry, no matter how ridiculous the case may be, no matter if it's just completely fabricated by police. Actually, there was a case recently where there was a interstate sex trafficking prosecution where the feds had put together this big case against all these people, and they had coerced all these children to make false accusations against them that they were lying, uh, and that the kids were, being trafficked. And then it all fell apart when these kids all started testifying how the prosecutors were coercing them to make up these stories in multiple instances. So they let these people go, but then they won't let them sue them. No, there can't be any kind of accountability or liability. That would break their system, because they got to have these people ramped up like they're above the law and have superpowers. And as long as they convict people, they could do whatever they want and they could get away with it. And they don't have to have any kind of discretion. They don't have to care if there's exculpatory evidence. They could cover that up. They could do whatever they want. And the judges, they write these vague, evasive opinion. They write sophistry. They'll do anything in the world to stop you from winning. And it's very hard to win with them because they have an agenda. They have an agenda to lock people up. They're under pressure to produce statistics, just like people know that cops have to make quotas for speeding tickets. Well, they got to fill the prisons up too with all this other crime, and they want to target whoever they think is the lowest hanging fruit, and they are putting these people in prison. Once you're in prison, once you have this label, you don't have any rights in this country, because they don't want to give you housing anywhere. They don't want to give you any jobs, and they want to make everything incredibly difficult in your life so that you don't have any kind of voice. And it doesn't matter if you were wrongfully convicted. It doesn't matter what the injustice is. They make the system set up against you. They stack everything against you. They coordinate against you. The more innocent you are, the more they target you, the more that they want to silence you, the more they need to weaken you so that they're never held accountable and nothing changes. And that's what's wrong. And that's why all these lawyers, they're all going to burn in hell, because they are just going along with the court system. The court has this code blue bias that they want to protect as corrupt officials just like them. And they're not going to let you win unless the government itself has gone against it, because their public's outraged. And they slander people. They're using the public dime to put out all this media to flood out their side of the story. You never hear the other side. Nobody wants to hear the other side. That's incredulous. Or people just don't care because there's so much injustice that it's like, well, nobody died, so just live with it, go on and whatever. But it's worse because it's just getting progressively worse on what they're trying to make a crime, and how they're getting people to plead guilty of things that are not crimes just by stacking up charges. And the attorneys are getting away with this. The judges are getting away with this. There's no checks and balances. There's no oversight. And false religion is being used to brainwash everybody to bow before the beast, that these are, using like Romans 13, they're servants of God. They're not servants of God. Maybe in the case where they catch some murderers or some people who are doing horrible things that also, should be incapacitated for whatever reason because they're incorrigible. Yeah, that might be in some situations where they're doing something, in that sense. But when it comes down to it, they're not. Most of the law is very petty, and it wants to hyper-criminalize and destroy people over things that are beyond their control. Like there's people that are addicted to drugs and things, and that's not because they have a bad character. They might get bad characteristics and steal and lie and do things after they become addicted, but the problem is they have all these churches or false shepherds, and they're not telling them, you have to be sober in mind and body. Don't fall into this trap, because the archaic language of being drunk on wine, it's the same thing. It's intoxication, and you really have to be serious about this. It's very, very bad for your health. And creating positive things for people to succeed in life and not be in that oppressive state where a lot of people begin selling drugs. They're in this like ghetto environment, or they're around people who are opportunistic and want to turn them into merchandise and sell them drugs or whatever and get them hooked at a young age. So there's a lot of bad things that are going on in this country. And as you can see, these elitist people, they're virtually above the law, and the government is being weaponized by these corrupt officials who are sponsored by these big corporations, and they're the ones who are lording over us, and they're using all this crime as a scapegoat. And so all these bar attorneys, I guarantee you, every single one of them, they're going to burn in hell for what they're doing, because they're creating all these fabricated and false cases, and they're doing everything possible to hyper criminalize and take away our natural rights. And they're not going to solve anything to with their different wars. They're not stopping anything. They're just making this hyper criminalization, because the only cure is that people believe in the Lord and want to do the right things, and people help them to get straight. But the prisons are just places, dens of homosexuality and drugs for people to get more demons possessed by them. Plus they're being forced to eat junk food and food that's loaded with preservatives, very unhealthy. They're locked down. They're not exercising. They're not working. These are very unhealthy habits they're teaching these people. They're not going to succeed or get better. They're getting put in the dirt, and they're just going to get worse, progressively worse. And they're going to come out. They're going to kill people. They're going to commit real crime. So your solutions are philosophical. They're not godly, because in the Bible it says if you try and cast out the demons by man-made means, then it's all cleanly swept, and then 7 more come back in with the first demon and possess that person and destroy them. So this whole criminal justice system started out as something to destroy homeless people, to destroy poor people, and to criminalize and say that they're bad because they lacked the Christian work ethic, even though they were handicapped or disabled from factory work. And that's usually what it was. It was a lot of people were injured from the factories in the industrial age, and that's how they became homeless tramps and lived in skid rows and things of that nature. They didn't want to do those type of jobs. They could do the peasant jobs of working on a farm and stuff like that before that everybody was able to do, pick apples and, get your feed, get your sustenance for the day, get by. And now, life had become very complicated for people, and you created this class of people who couldn't fit and work in this industrial age. And so they criminalized them, and now they're hyper criminalizing everything because people have gone with it. People have got indoctrinated. They've normalized it. They've normalized that you have these homosexual guards that are strip searching men in these prisons and objectifying them sexually and exploiting them. Right. And people have to be traumatized by this. They're going through this experience. And this isn't illegal. But if you look at an image and the girl might be underage, or if something is ambiguous about that picture in any degree, then of course that is a life-destroying offense in this country. And it doesn't make any sense, because the gravity of the situation is, what's the actual harm that is being caused when you put people in prison, as opposed to helping people who have some kind of perversions or whatever, or the criminal tendencies. Then they should get some kind of help to get rid of their demons, whatever they may be. They might have mental problems from drugs. They might have mental problems in general. They might have social problems. They don't have a normal relationship. They could be bad people, but bad people could change. As we could see with Paul, St. Paul was murdering people, and he became the leader of the Christian church in that time. So I'm not saying people can't change, and the world is just really evil. People are hypnotized, and they're delusional by all the media that's being put out. And that is causing a lot of grave difficulties in society, being a civilized society. Now it's just a expendable slave commodity society, where all these hyper technical things are being done to criminalize what we did. And it's all sophistry, and the truth is being buried. So even when you are innocent of these things, just the general allegation of anything is enough to destroy your life. And nobody cares, because everything's overpopulated and nobody has enough money ever to make anything about it, because they destroy the leaders and target people who try and speak up to change anything. And then they put out all kind of misinformation to make people ignorant. And they have all this persuasive media. They're constantly flooding people, and they're using the public dollar. They're using the taxes from these big corporations, and they have this agenda, and they're trying to destroy people. And it's just disgusting. There's a lot of bad people out there. There's a lot of crime. that needs to be investigated. People need to be held responsible for doing stuff like that too. But the public officials, they're the ones committing the worst crimes because they're upholding unconstitutional laws. They're mass incarcerating people with no conscience, just like the Cash for Kids scandal. There's kickbacks and different schemes going on here. There's all kind of buddy system. There's all kind of phone calls and stuff being made between these officials that they're corrupt. They have an agenda, and they target people who speak the truth. They target people who are holy. They target people who are innocent. They have no mercy. They want to lump everybody together as the ultimate criminal just because a couple crazy people do something. They want to make that everybody else an example. And it's not working to deter crime. It's just making them more powerful to scare people into being obedient to condemning everybody else, or else they're going to get bullied and they're going to be destroyed because they're on the wrong side of the fence. They're using fence politics. They're using demagoguery. They're doing all these crazy things just to take faith away from people in the Bible, in the Word of God. They have all these false shepherds set up in the churches telling them to obey the state and go along with this false court system, this false government. And they're doing all kind of evil things to oppress everybody. But most people, as long as they're comfortable, they're working their job and they have their material things to fill the void of doing holy things, of being godly, of getting in touch with the gospel and the message, and to help people who are being victimized by this system, oppressed, the freedoms that are being oppressed of expression, the freedom of mercy, liberty, grace, and everything that's being taken away from people in this tyrannical system. And all of this is just, it's a horrible nightmare to live in this country. This is the haunt of every demon's, the United States. It's the beast in Revelation 13 with 7 heads, and its reign is going to end very soon. It's not going to last beyond my lifetime, believe that. And it's going to go down in flames in a comet, and it's going to be ugly. And all those terrorists that they're fighting with now, they're going to take over next, and that'll be just chaos and destruction everywhere, and the world ain't going to last long. The only reason the United States exists right now is the Lord is using it to protect Israel to fulfill these end-time prophecies. Otherwise, Israel will be wiped off the map. So there is something being done through that mechanism, but the trade-offs of what it's doing to put everybody else in a spiritual, economic, and political bondage it's unacceptable. That's why the Bible says, "Come out of her, Babylon, my people." And this is Babylon. This is the land of the merchants. You can buy more stuff here than anywhere else in the world. Everywhere else you have these big import taxes if you want to get stuff from Amazon, stuff like that. We got everything right in our backyard, right at our fingertips. We have all the giants, corporations. They're just like the giants from the days of Noah, that they were, ruling over people and demanding tribute and fill their bottomless stomachs. And that's what they're doing. They're taxing and taking everything from us that we're serving them to build their idols. And we don't need a lot of this stuff that they're giving us. It's exchange for our soul. It's exchange for our morals. And it's just, they're trying to corrupt us so that they could say we're bad people and destroy us, pass more laws to take away our rights. That's how it works. Believe it.